Greetings, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at Space Cowboy Books Online for another evening of Flash science fiction. Tonight we have a special event because it is revolving all authors from If There Is Anyone Left, a anthology series of inclusive Flash science fiction. I'm going to hand it over to Cindy Fields to tell us a little bit about the series, and then we will get into the reading.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy. I'm one of the two co-editors. Jason is the other one. Jason's really driving the ship, though. So I just want to say that If There's Anyone Left was really kind of born out of the idea that the golden age of science fiction is happening now, and it's being driven by marginalized voices. And so we wanted to provide a home for marginalized voices for our favorite genre, Flash. And that's what ITAL was born out of. So I just wanted to welcome everybody and say I'm so thrilled to introduce some of our authors. Volume 3 is just, it whips ass. You haven't seen it yet, but it whips ass. So I'll say nothing more and let our authors take over.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Tonight we are going to hear readings from Taylor Ray, Tara Campbell, and Jenna Hanchey. We're going to start off the evening with Taylor Ray. Taylor Ray is a professional cave troll hidden away in the mountains of Idaho. She likes avoiding her neighbors, playing ukulele, and longboarding. Most of her stories involve spaceships and or magic. She is the winner of the 2021 New York City Midnight Short Story Contest, and her work appears in Flash Fiction Online, Pseudopod, and Fit for the Gods from Vintage Books. I'm going to hand it over to Taylor to read their story, The Light Will Leave You Warmer.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Taylor. And this the story is actually set where I am, which is North Idaho wilderness, I guess. Here it goes. The metal deer is almost dead. Willa and I are scavenging when we find it. It's maybe a quarter mile from the house in the tansy field that leads into the woods. It's June and daylight gets so hot the tansy is already brown and dead. The deer lies on its side, listless. It's been spirit sick for weeks and nothing I've tried has worked. My dad was a true spirit welder. I can't even keep a goddamn deer alive. The both of us crouch together. We wear burlap pants, belts with knives and rope, plaid jackets. We're a 5-hour hike from the nearest town deep in the woods of old Idaho. All around us, my dad's metal songbirds flit through the trees, clicking and chirping. The scrap animals are the only living things left out here. Oh, dear, Willa says. Don't you want to stick around with us? Don't think I can fix it this time. That's okay. I don't have the knack for welding or magic. She knocks her knee against mine and smiles, but I can't match it. I'm already separating it in my mind. Just scrap metal, just a stupid deer ghost, because if I use its name, then it stops being junkyard magic and it becomes the last spirit weld my dad helped me make, and I can't fucking think about that right now. Its body is a children's bicycle frame with sheet metal ribs, jointed struts for legs. Its head is an old stop sign I hammered into shape, cutting holes for the eye sockets. Its eyes are a weak yellow glow, like starlight. Willa squeezes my knee. She unhooks the rope from her belt and fashions a lasso to loop around the deer's head and rusted chest. Let's get her home at least, she says. When I was 12, my dad brought me into his welding workshop and showed me a delicate robin, fashioned from old soda cans. Its breast was a red Coke logo. We can't bring the animals back, Addie. He tilted the breast panel to show the real bird bones inside, brown with age and humming with low-frequency magic. But their spirits are present and restless. We can give their ghosts a new shell until they're ready to pass on. Through his welder's gloves, his hands glowed, casting leonine shadows on his face. The metal robin rocked unsteadily to its feet and swayed, blinking its pinhole yellow eyes. That robin lived through another 7 years of repairs, until one day it curled up and waited like a candle, hoping to burn out. My father plucked out its soul-blackened bones and buried them with a flattened soda can headstone. Why won't you save it? I had said. You could make its soul stay. For a while, he said, but it was ready to go. But how do you know? He winked. You just do. My dad's scrap songbirds follow us like a funeral procession. They chirp amongst each other, clicking a clever wheel Dad set in their bellies. Maybe they know dear is dying. Willa and I take turns pulling the rope. The deer isn't that heavy, but we're weak. We've been low on rations from the city for weeks. Willa's little garden barely grew enough to feed us for a month, even after she germinated by hand because I'm too clumsy to spirit weld an army of tinfoil bees for her. The sun hangs low and crimson when we finally reach the edge of the field, pass through a thin ribbon of forest, and enter the clearing we call home. My dad's been dead a year, and I still think of it as Dad's house. The old mobile home stands at the center of the clearing. My dad's workshop wilts beside it, corrugated siding gone rusty, concrete foundation sinking. Willa pauses, panting. She nods at the workshop. Want to bring her in to look at her? And do what? I kneel beside Dear and smooth my hand down its metal neck. Its eyes are fading, but still dull yellow. I can't make a spirit stay if it doesn't want to. Like Dad. He was sick, but I think he also just got tired. Tired of holding on, tired of waiting to die. And when he finally went, I thought about putting his bones in a metal shell and seeing what opened its yellow eyes and looked back at me. Dear's eyes are winking out like a match burning low. Its face is so dented and dead already. How did my dad ever make this sad hunk of metal look alive? How will I ever do it again without him? Willa tilts her head toward the forest and smiles tiredly. At least all her friends came to the funeral. I follow her stare. Dozens of my dad's birds are gathered on tree limbs and fence posts, on bushes and brambles, but there are more eyes too, glowing in the twilight. There's the bear my dad reconstructed from a scrapped pair of gold wings, the exhaust pipe sticking out from its elbows. There's the first animal I ever made, a fox with a crooked face and mismatched eyes. And there's Dear's buddy, Elk, who's so huge its eyes look like twin moons. Even our house cat, a cranky spigot with a metal teapot head, has joined the observers. I can almost imagine my dad's ghost beside them, clear as moonlight and just as bright. Dear's chest is still hot when I reach between its metal ribs. I pluck out its bones, one by one. They're so blackened they almost ash apart in my hands. But Dear's spirit hums in those bones. It's still humming when Willa digs a hole beside my father and his little metal robin. It's still humming when I press the bones into the earth, all my dad's metal animals haloing around us. We stand among our ghosts and pray the only way we know how, laughing, retelling stories, and hoping the spirits we've lost can hear us. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Taylor Ray with The Light Will Leave You Warmer. Next up, we have Tara Campbell. Tara Campbell is a writer, teacher, Cambilio Fellow, fiction co-editor at Barrel House, and a graduate of American University's MFA in Creative Writing. In addition to ITAL, her publications include Master's Review, Uncharted Magazine, Strange Horizons, Daily Science Fiction, and Escape Pod / Artemis Rising. She's the author of a novel and 4 multi-genre collections, including her newest, Cabinet of Wrath, a doll collection. She will be reading tonight in The Garden of Rings.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight and for featuring If There's Anyone Left. And I happen to have the first 2 editions here. So look at these covers. Oh, I was covering up the little space guy there, or space person, I should say. So grab those before you grab volume 3 or at the same time. I'm going to read my contribution from volume 2 in The Garden of Rings. Mama's always told me not to try planting a ring on my own. I've watched her thrust her hands into the dirt for years now, loosening the soil, shaping a hole, then rummaging through her little box of rings for one to bury. Even now, she only lets me watch, never telling me exactly what she's wishing for with each ring. Even though I'm grown enough to help with all the other chores around the house, even after I became a woman myself in that messy red way about which she simply said, well, here we go, before handing me a pad. Mama's tight-lipped about most things, but especially the rings. It's like she's jealous of anyone else having her power. And I suppose she is, since she went to the trouble to grow a dragon to watch over our farm. All Mama's ever shared is that she can only have 3 ring wishes at a time, and she's not trading in the house or the dragon, so she only has the 1 ring crop a year to play with, 1 free wish at a time, and that's why I'm not to touch her box of rings. Each spring, she plants a ring and we watch it grow. Me, eager to find out what the wish is, her, anxious to see what it will actually look like. One year, a whole field of corn sprouted from a yellow solitaire diamond ring, each ear studded with pearls instead of kernels, except for the one that held another ring. Mama put that ring in her box and sold most of the pearls. We made enough to feed ourselves and the dragon and still add to our nest egg in the bank. Mama kept the ones she didn't sell in an inflatable pool in the basement for the dragon to watch over. And sometimes when she was in a good mood, we'd step in and splash around in our own little sea of pearls. Not anymore though, now that I'm grown. She says she's keeping them for my future. Funny though, the dragon never lets me take any of them out of the house. Another year, a ruby ring resulted in a single pomegranate tree. Our dragon wrapped itself around that tree and we spent the summer picking the plump red fruits, splitting their skins open and scooping dozens of diamonds out of sticky magenta pulp. Still, Mama didn't really relax until we opened the fruit that held another ring. No matter that the ring box was never empty, Mama couldn't truly enjoy the harvest until it produced one more seed for the future. She insisted on finding it, even the year she grew the dragon. I was small then, 8 or 9, but I will never forget her planting the emerald ring, then watching in amazement week after week as the tips of the beast's horns sprouted. Then earth fell away from the scaly skin of its forehead. Then the day it finally opened its eyes and trained those glistening red orbs on me. Mama'd rush out to the fields every time it breathed fire, searching the previous year's scorched stalks for a flash of metal or a glittering stone. Turns out we just had to be patient, then hold our noses and sift. I hate to think how many dung piles we soiled ourselves with, me at my age barely tall as the piles, before the ring finally emerged. After that, I thought she'd finally be a little less tense, less guarded with a dragon to do the guarding for us. I couldn't have put it into words then, but I guess I hoped I'd finally get a mother who could focus on me for a change, rather than watching out for the neighbors or fingering through that ring box, mulling over what to wish for next. I know she was just looking out for me in her own way, but I always felt kind of like an afterthought. Even then, I had the sense I wasn't something she'd specifically wished for. I'd never been one of her rings. But now I'm grown in that red, messy way we never discussed. And there's someone else out there, someone Mama doesn't know about, who makes me feel like I was wished right down from the stars. I've been going out to meet this someone past the edge of the farm, beyond any place our dragon cares about. And I've been telling this girl every wish I have about exploring the big wide world and finding a home, a real home with love and hugs and kisses, arms around one another, eyes closed for a moment of comfort and peace. I asked Mama last night what she was going to plant this spring. She told me not to worry my little head about it, that she and the dragon would decide. Her eyes gleamed red in the hearth fire. She explained how I'd understand one day when this farm was mine and I had a young woman of my own to protect. Her bony fingers gripped the ring box like claws. So now I'm off to plant my own ring, not one from Mama's box. The dragon almost snapped off my hand when I tried to take one in the wee hours of the morning. Same for the pearls that were supposedly for my future. Funny though, the dragon didn't seem to care at all when I left with a bag slung over my shoulder, holding my 2 favorite dresses, a change of shoes, and a bit of food to last until whatever happens next. I won't forget Mama's advice. I won't plant a ring on my own. I will wear my love's ring and she'll wear mine, and we'll find our own plot of land, dig our hands into the dirt, and grow our own future together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Tara Campbell with In the Garden of Rings. Next up, we're going to have Jenna Hanchey. Jenna Hanchey has been an actress, particle physicist, Peace Corps volunteer, and after-school space program teacher, and is currently a professor of critical cultural studies at Arizona State University. Her stories appear in Nature Futures, Daily Science Fiction, Medusa Tales, Windgraph, and Martian Magazine, among other venues. Having once been called a badass fairy, she attempts to live up to the title. Tonight, she's going to be sharing a story with us entitled, Come Away from the Fire, My Love. Over to you, Jenna.
In the third season of Fire, the air thickened, choking off even my will to hold you. A will that had persisted, outpacing material circumstances, stretching far longer than our stores of supplies. A will that finally broke the day I stood upon the ramparts and watched the lightly falling flakes. It transported me back to our childhood when you would create snow nymphs and spin tales of their adventures in faraway lands, before you had read all the books on elementals in the library, before you learned to speak to them, before you became like them. I opened my mouth that day like you used to, giving into fancy for a moment. Instead of cool relief, my tongue netted only ash. It tasted of grief. Yours or mine, I could not tell. Perhaps the two were inextricable. At that moment, I knew it was over. I watched your flames stretch over the mountainside, reaching high into the air, frantic slashes wrestling against the inescapable grasp of the earth. You were attempting to pull away, I finally realized, to be free. You had made your choice long ago, and it was not me. In the third season of Fire, I let you go. In the second season of Fire, the kingdom of Araith was cut off from the seas, marooning many on the wrong side of the past. Arithians unable to bring the bounty of the ocean home, and sea dwellers unable to reach their shores. You'd done this on purpose, wielded your wings of flame to scourge the mountains, hurting them as a proxy for me. How selfish of you. To take out your pain on innocent trees and creatures. If you suffered, the fault was your own. You were alone out there in the wilds, just as you'd been alone when you left me to seek the spirit realm. Had you only stayed with me in the castle, I would have cared for you, given you everything you needed. I only needed you. Why couldn't you understand that? In the second season of Fire, I held tighter. In the first season of Fire, flames danced high in the mountains. I watched, in awe of you and of myself. I thought it beautiful, the twisting and twirling color. Your new form, still touching the plane of the fire nymphs, yet re-tethered to the kingdom, thanks to me. Years I had searched for the spell that could pull you back from the spirit realm. You never said so, but I knew you were waiting, anticipating. And now you showed your gratitude by making the light laugh, gurgling with delight at the very edge of my kingdom, as far as you could now go from me. And yet I could not reach you. The forest burned, but I was too far away to feel the heat. Still I grew warm, reveling in the spurts of blue and white cresting the ridgeline, even if their intensity felt out of place in that joyful moment. Too hot, your jagged flames cut the landscape, sharp enough to draw blood. Perhaps the ends matched the means. After all, blood soaked the tower where I'd practiced the magics necessary to snatch you away from the fire nymphs. It was worth it. I succeeded. In the first season of Fire, I brought you home to me. Before the seasons of Fire, before the spring that finally broke them, came the spring that broke me. You broke me. How could you? You knew how much I needed you, how I turned to you every time a decision needed to be made, how I leaned on your emotional wisdom and intuition, how I relied on your knowledges of other peoples and lands, your long days in the library and easy conversation with visitors. You took that from me, even knowing I had little time for study, little understanding of empathy, little grasp on implications. You abandoned me, even knowing I loved you. I had always loved you, from the easy days of play in the snow. I wanted you by my side forever. I needed you. And as king, I should have had you. As subject, as friend, as lover, you should have acquiesced. You knew what kind of a king I would be without you. It was raining the day before you fled the castle. A fine spring morning, warmer than usual. It was thought to herald heavy blooms to come. I found you in the library, unsurprisingly. You must have heard me come in, but you continued to stare at the low blaze flickering in the fireplace. Have you made your decision? Longing made my voice tight. I have. I waited for more. It would be undignified to ask again. When you finally turned toward me, your face was answer enough. I was the one who turned away then, hands gripping the windowsill as the rain pounded down in time with my furious heart. You will always be my king. Your words were heavy with feeling, but not with the one I sought. But I cannot stay. My place is not here, kept inside, apart from the world. I have so much to learn. You pointed at the open book in your hands. Did you know we once traded with the elementals? We sent ambassadors to air, water, earth, and fire. We could do so again. Imagine what that would do for your reign. The excitement in your voice cut. A single word was all I could manage. No. But I know how to reach them, how to speak the language of fire. I know it will change me, but I'm willing to accept the price in order to learn, to see the world from a different plane. Can you imagine? No. I did not look at you. I looked at the rain, beating the ground into submission. The impact rattled as you slammed the door to the library, to a life with me, shut. Before the seasons of fire, you left.
Thank you so much. That was Jenna Hanchey with Come Away from the Fire, My Love. Before that, you heard Tara Campbell with In the Garden of Rings, and opening the show was Taylor Ray with The Light Will Leave You Warmer. Thank you so much to our readers tonight for these wonderful stories. Thank you to our audience for being here to share in this with us. There are links to both volumes 1 and 2 of If There's Anyone Left, inclusive speculative fiction, flash fiction anthologies in the chat there. Please join us at Space Cowboy Books online for our next event, which will be coming up on October 25th. We'll have a reading and interview with Jenny Goloboy about her hilarious book, Obviously Aliens. Again, thank you so much to everybody for sharing your flash stories with us tonight, and we hope to see you again.